Hello, hello, and welcome to Homeschooling with Babies and Toddlers. Isn't it fitting that one of our mamas has a baby in her hands? It's perfect. We're so excited to be here today and talk to you about this topic we get questions about all the time. We've got some great moms with us today. Please, if you can, leave us your comments below. We'll try to get to them all, and let us know where you're watching from, or if you have any specific comments for any of these moms. Let me introduce them to you. Margaret is one of our advisors here at Sonlight. She is a mom of 9. Her children range from 4 to 25. And she will be our Sonlight expert as we go through this call. And of course, a mom expert, as you can see from, or as you can tell from what I introduced, how I introduced her. And then we have Jackie. Jackie is the mom behind Raising Cubs. You can find her over at raisingcubsphotography.com and on Instagram. She is a mama of 4, and they range from 8 to 7 months, or 7 months to 8, right? Sorry. Yep. And then Sarah is the mom behind Our Tribe of Many. She is a mom of 9, ranging from 9 months to 15 years in age. She is, they're all 3 of them homeschool with Sonlight, so we'll be touching a lot on that as well. And the first thing we're going to do, so you can understand, this is always something people like, and so I like to do this as well. We'll start with Sarah, and I just wanted to know a little bit about your family, about you know, where people can learn more about you, and then a little bit about your routine and what you do every day.
Okay. Well, I'm married to Solo, and like Stephanie said, we have 9 kids, 15 down to 9 months, and 6 of them are school age. So we've homeschooled all the way through so far, and our routine is, like, our day-to-day routine is that I like to work with my younger ones first that are school age, because I find that it's the best way to get it in. And so I work with my younger ones right after breakfast for a couple hours, and then I meet with my 4 older ones. I meet with a different one every day before lunch, and then in the afternoon I spend a lot of time reading out loud and working with anybody else that I need to of my older ones, while my little ones, my younger school, elementary age, are doing their work, and my babies are napping. So it's like a juggle all day, but somehow it all gets done.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Jackie, how about you? A little bit about you, where to find you, your days.
Sure. So I'm married to Sean, my husband, and we have 4 boys, ranging, like you said, from 8 to 6 months. You made him older. Don't make him older.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
And so we don't set alarms, or I let the kids wake up when they wake up. I know everyone does that differently, but usually, just like she said, after breakfast, I'll work. Because my oldest is only 8, I still like to get it in before lunch, just because by the afternoon I lose them. But we'll do right after breakfast. It could be between 9 and 11. I'll start, and you know, I'm interrupted a bunch of times because of this guy, but we just get through it. I actually combined my 1st and 2nd grader because they're so close in age. So we're doing the same stuff together, which is really nice, besides phonics, of course, and then math. And then right around lunch, I will nap the 4-year-old and then Luke. And then the older boys, same thing. We kind of do what you do, where we'll do the read alouds in the afternoon, because we really enjoy that. So they don't have to be so focused, you know, for a new lesson or anything like that. Yes, here comes one. But that's really our day. Can you please shut the door?
No.
Okay.
Real life.
Real life, for sure. Thank you, Jackie.
But you can find me and all the crazies over at Raising Cubs on Instagram, and then we're also on YouTube too at Raising Cubs TV. But
perfect. And Sarah is at Our Tribe of Many on YouTube.
Our Tribe of Many on YouTube and Instagram.
Yes, yes. And Margaret, tell us a little bit about your day.
Sure. Of our 9, we still have 6 at home that are homeschooling. My older ones are pretty much independent, And for the younger ones, I usually on the weekends create a chart for them. So when they wake up in the mornings, they know where their books are, they know where their charts are. And if it's a subject that they can do by themselves, they get started, do that by themselves. And then we group back together for fixes and for read alouds. And then for my really little ones, usually we do read alouds as a bedtime story.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Very good.
Yeah, we're doing Charlotte's Web this week, and it's funny because we got to a cliffhanger chapter, and Charlotte's going to appear, and my daughter said, I wonder what that voice is. And I thought, I think I've read this 10 times. I can't believe you don't know.
That's funny. We recently read Charlotte's Web too, and I forgot. I was like,
yeah,
I forgot what happens. I was like, isn't it bad? And everyone's like, what? Yeah. Anyway,
I'm glad you brought that up because, sometimes people think they have to do all of what Sonlight has laid out within a typical school day, 8 to 3. And because we homeschool, like you said, I've done that too, where you do it right before bed and it doesn't even feel like school, but it is. So I love it. Yeah, that's great.
You can do read aloud when they're in the bathtub. You can do it anytime.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, if anyone of you who are joining us has any questions about that you want to ask these ladies, please let us know in the comments. I'm going to start with some of the questions we gathered off of Facebook, and we'll go from there. So I had multiple people ask me this question, and we'll sort of get everyone's take on this. So this is the question: how do you avoid little ones feeling left out or ignored when you have to get school done with the older kids, but they aren't old enough to want to sit and do anything at the school table? So let's start with Jackie.
Me? No, I'm kidding. So I usually, like for my 4-year-old James, he only recently this year started having an interest in it. But before this year, when he couldn't sit with us, I set up another smaller table away, like in the same room, and I'll just give him activities there and let him think he's doing school, which sometimes it is a learning experience, but other times it's just to keep him busy. Legos. We've had like that activity sand. Sometimes it's an iPad with a learning game on it, but that's how I will keep them occupied, so that especially when I'm doing new lessons or new concepts, I need, him to be quiet. But right now he's 4, and obviously he's not at the same level as a 2nd grader. One of the things I do is let him interact with us, and kind of like a one-room schoolhouse, he'll think he's doing the same thing, but he's really not, but it makes him feel like he's part of it. So that's what we do. But
very good.
This guy, he just sits on my lap.
Very good. Sarah?
Yeah, I do a lot of the same things. If my child's old enough to feel like they want to do school, they are doing school with us.
Right.
They're doing school with us, whatever that looks like next to us. But if they're really too young to sit at the table, like right now I have a 20-month-old or 22 maybe, and a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old. And so a lot of times with my like 1st and 2nd grader age, or 2nd and 3rd, whatever they are, homeschoolers, what grade are they in? I don't know. I bring them to the floor with me, and we do it right next to where I know that they'll be happy playing when they're real little. And I like to move around a lot. So sometimes I have 2 like different kind of living areas in my house. So we'll do it in one area and then another. And sometimes we'll sit at the table. And so moving around seems to keep those kids happier. And then I also, like Jackie, I have all those things that I know will keep them occupied, like maybe my 3-year-old. And so sometimes for me in the past, when I know school, it'll get a little hectic and I don't want to be thinking, how can I entertain this child? I will keep a list like of all the things that I know do entertain that child. And so it's easy for me to go and say, oh, we haven't done this for a while. It's just kind of like a little help for my mom brain in the moment, just to have that running list, and so I can keep it fresh. Because if you're doing the same thing every day, they're just going to be done with you.
Yeah. Very good. Margaret?
We often survived on play together slots. So during the day, they would have a slot where an older would take the younger, and depending on the ages, it might just be 15 minutes, but that's all I needed to help somebody with letter formation or whatever it was. sometimes as they got older, they'd have a half-hour play together slot. And with rotating toys, it was a new toy for both of them that they hadn't seen in a while, and seemed to work usually well.
Yeah, very good. All really good ideas. Thank you. So then what do you do for the opposite? So say that the older one is a little jealous of the younger one not really having a set structure to learning. Sarah, why don't you take that one first?
Well, I don't know if this is a politically correct answer or not, but I remind them that they had that time when they were young. I remind them a lot. And then I also, to me, it's incentive. Like when you're done, you get that free time to play too. And I highly value play for kids. I think it's really important, especially just using their imagination, electronics or anything. So I want them to have that playtime too. So I try to make them feel like I'm working with them. Let's get it done so you can play too. And then for my more goal-oriented kids, it works better maybe than the ones that aren't so much. But those are the things that come to mind, I guess.
Yeah,
mostly.
no, those are great ideas. I think we all do that a little bit. At least I know I do. When the older anyone's jealous, I'm like, you'll get there, or
yeah,
you had it at one point. So
yes.
Do you have anything to add?
Me?
Yeah.
So just like Sarah, what you said, it's not politically correct. It's kind of like you need to obey because.
Yeah.
So my second grader, a lot of the times, even though his brother's only a grade below him, is jealous of how easy their work is for first grade. So that comes up a lot, even though we have them combined for history and all that. But yeah, it's like she said, same exact thing. It's one, you're going to obey me because God says you're going to obey me. What's the fifth commandment, you know? And then obviously, I'll just say, the faster you stop grumbling and complaining is the faster you're going to have free time. So the same exact thing, just giving them the goal and then reminding them really how good they have it, that they're homeschooled in their PJs.
Yes.
You know? But that's like probably the biggest thing. And it's the same as Sarah. I remind them of, you know, you had that time and let's get through this. So.
Right. Good. Margaret, anything?
Mine sometimes grumble that somebody else's work is easier. And I really just try to nip that in the bud and let them know, you know, I could do your math in 5 minutes. That's easy for me. But, you know, your math is what you need it to be and theirs is what they need. And just need to support each other.
Right. Very good. So Jennifer on our Facebook groups asked, how did you start the homeschool routine, especially when explaining that some kids go to school and they're going to stay home and do schooling. So, you know, when you started homeschooling, how did you separate, you know, and make sure that they understood that this is part of, you know, their schooling? Jackie?
So my children have never been in regular school, but we did have them in a co-op for kindergarten because I was doubting my abilities as their teacher, which wasn't from above. So they kind of had that kind of scheduled. It was like 8 to 3, 2 days a week co-op. It was wonderful, but I lost my freedom. I had to follow someone else's curriculum and I didn't like that at all. So when we took them out, because they were both in there for a short period, I've never come to that. Like they don't look at other kids and say, I wish I was in school. I don't know if that's going to ever happen, but it's kind of like you never miss what you never had. Right. So they don't really do that comparing at all. If anything, my kids see when they get home from school, like the school bus, and they're like, man, that stinks. But, so I guess my advice, if someone asked me that, like if their child was in regular school and they pulled them out, would just be kind of like what we were saying with them being jealous of their younger siblings' free time. It's like, you know, this is what our family does and every family does it differently. And, you know, that's what I would probably say is we all do it different. And for those kids and their families, that's what they're in regular school. But when you're here, I'm your teacher and obey. You know, so that's
very good.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, I I am in the same place as Jackie. I've never had my kids in a traditional school setting like that. And I think I would tell somebody in that situation, well, I went to public school myself. And so I do tell my kids like what it's like and how you're there for a long time. My kids have no desire to go to school at all. They have friends that are in school and they see how long they're in school and come home and do homework. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about that sometimes and they have no desire. But if I had kids that I was transitioning, I think I would just focus on just all positive, exciting things about the change and the new and just making it really exciting. And that's what we did when we started homeschooling is this is so exciting. When my little ones are coming up, they want to do what that exciting thing that their older siblings do. And so I think the more you can focus the uplifting, positive, exciting part of what the new adventure that can help negate maybe feeling what they perceive they're losing too. I don't know.
Yeah, very good. So MJ asks on this, I have a 12 and a 14-year-old and a tough time getting all the reading done with math and science, taking over so much of our day. Mixed with me still having to do a lot of reading with her 3 younger, 6, 3, and 1. We actually took a break. She misses Sonlight. That's good. You should come back, MJ. What should a homeschool day look like with younger children at home? So I think, MJ, we actually addressed this in the beginning. Sarah had a really good explanation of how she does it. Just make sure that you're watching the replay because there are really good explanations to that.
Can I just say too?
Oh, go ahead.
I love Sonlight's homeschool program. I can't speak highly enough about it. And we've looked into other things before, and I involve my kids in that decision, and they keep looking at all the books that they would possibly miss out on, and we keep coming back to Sonlight. So it is pretty awesome in the experience we've had so far with the high school curriculum. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what activities do you give the little ones while working with the older ones? We sort of talked about this, but are there anything specifically that you're giving them to maybe distract them? I think people are really looking for toys and stuff like that. Like, just what are you doing in that regard? Sarah?
I'm doing about one messy thing a week only. You can only pull out Play-Doh so many times because it's a lot of work to clean it up. Yeah. So I don't have specific toys. I like different children of mine have like different things. Right now, my 3-year-old loves to play with like little figurines, and she can play with it for a long time. That is the biggest blessing ever because she uses her imagination, and oh man, I love that. But I will throw just anything out there. Whiteboards with dry erase markers. You got to watch those things closely though, because they stain things, and just whatever we can that keeps them happy. I guess I don't have any real. I love water. They wash out everything, and it's not that messy. But yeah, I'm not sure about what else I got.
No, I think that's great things. Jackie, do you have anything that you're like go to keeping little hands busy?
Same thing like Sarah. I don't, you don't want to get too extravagant because then it's going to get, the messy. I think it's really smart to. Sometimes people, like I touched on briefly how they think they have to start, right at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is. Everyone does it differently, but especially with a young one like him, like right now, if this is what he was doing during school, sometimes I pause our lesson and I put the little ones for a nap, and then we regroup.
Yeah.
I'll give them snack time, or I'll tell them to go outside and run around, do some laps because they're boys. And then by the time I get the littles, situated, sleeping, whatever it is, then we'll go back to it, because it really can get frustrating if you're trying to push it too hard, and the little ones, it's not their fault half the time, So that's what I mean. Sometimes I have to wait for nap time. But,
yeah. Margaret, do you have anything to add for that? Do you have any go-to hand?
Honestly, we just rotate a lot of different toys: marble maze, Zoobs, Magneto, Lego, blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think the key is the rotation.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it for days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Jana A asked, how do you have time to do everything, especially when you add in science experiments? Sarah?
I definitely don't do everything. And
Sarah's going to be like, I do it all.
yeah. One thing I did when I had a lot of younger and didn't have the older is I started right at breakfast. While they're eating, sitting around that table, you got a captive audience. And I started at breakfast for years and years. And I would get so much done. I'd get most of their school done while they're still sitting there eating breakfast, if I could, and pick it up again at lunch. But I don't like, I'm a nurse even, and I don't like doing the science experiments that much. And I don't like projects. Those are my two things that, they're hard for me. So I would do it a little bit with them, just enough to get them started. And the older they got, I realized, hey, they love this stuff. And they're perfectly happy if I'm not up in the middle of it. So to be honest, my kids do that stuff on their own. And now the older ones, even they love it so much, they'll come back and help the little ones. Oh, they have to do a science experiment. Let me do it with them. But yeah, I found for me, I couldn't fit it all in, and I didn't want to be stressed trying to fit it all in. And sometimes it's okay to just step back, and if they love it, to let them do it. That's how we figured it out here.
Yeah, I'm with you. We did hands-on history, and we made volcanoes. Sonlight has a great program that fits into almost any history program. Anyway, we made volcanoes, and they wanted to do, I was so stressed out making volcanoes. I was like, and they kept asking to make volcanoes. I'm like, Mom's done. Like, I don't, no more volcanoes. Margaret, how about you? Do you have anything that you can offer as far as advice on getting everything done?
You can't. I would say definitely you can't. So just do what you can every day. And sometimes at our house, the science experiments, they might get punted to a weekend, and maybe I could enlist an older brother coming home from college, or grab dad, or just, it doesn't have to be me always doing the experiments with them, and it doesn't have to be on the day it's assigned.
Yeah, that's really good. Jackie, I know that you said like this when Sarah said, I don't get it all done.
Yeah, because I think one of the hardest things, and I'm so determined to really as if I can, I want to free homeschool moms, and even moms that say I can't do that. That's, that's what I'm sure you all have heard a million times, is oh, I don't have the patience for that, or I can't do that. And I'm thinking, I can't do it. I'm relying on God's grace daily. The other thing is, oh, you must have endless patience. I'm like, no, I definitely don't. You have to do what gives you peace, right? So obviously we want our children to learn and be able to do math and write and read and all those things. But if I'm following Sonlight and something is it's really become something that's so hard for us, what I'm learning from my 8-year-old is we go back to it. Sometimes it's a month later, or it's a year later, and it's easier. Not that they don't have to do hard things, because I'm big on that, but I can't do it all right now. I can't. And I'm never going to probably be able to do it all. And as they are older, of course, I look forward to busy work over there. But right now I'm still having to helicopter them, So I don't do it all. And I try to focus on just peace within our homeschool day. And, we do the core of it. And again, 2nd grade is not that difficult yet. But yeah, I definitely don't do it all.
Very good. Very good. I have a question here about socialization, the age-old question. How many times have you guys been asked that, right? So this question is actually a little bit different in that she's moving. So she just, I think, wants a little bit of, she wants ideas on how she can do that in a new city. So let's talk about how you socialize your own children. Sarah?
Oh, I have never worried about it once, really. And well, I guess that's not true. When my kids were a little bit getting about to teens, I thought about it a little more. And when they were younger, for me, them being involved we're very involved in our church. We're pastor, so that helps being very involved. But to me, that was enough. And I think kids can be socialized, social or unsocial, whether they're in school or not in school. And so I didn't worry about it when they were young. When they got a little older and I felt like they needed more friendships, I prayed about it, and I was amazed how the Lord answered those prayers. When they were younger, I felt like I needed some homeschool moms in my life. And when I tried to force it, it maybe didn't work out the way I wanted, but I went praying about that too. The Lord brought exactly what I needed into my life. It didn't happen right away, but it happened. And tell you, I think sometimes as moms, we need some support of people that understand where we're at. And that's, to me, a really important part of maybe finding a city. Like, there's so many options. I wouldn't have time to school if I did very many. There's so many co-op options. And so I'm not sure where you are, but hopefully there's options where you are and you can find what works for you.
Yeah. How about you, Jackie?
Co-ops, like Sarah said, part of our homeschool association, there's a bunch of different co-ops through there. There's like arts after lunch. There's town sports. Like she said, church. I mean, that's who, I'm not homeschooling to keep them in a bubble, but I want them to have fellowship and be with other like-minded families. So that's huge for us. But like my sons have played baseball since they were 5. And, you know, again, that socialization thing is a bunch of baloney. And I laugh at that because I can always tell homeschool families and kids when I'm out, just not because it's like, you know, 10 a.m. on a Thursday, but because honestly, homeschool kids, because they're around their you know, adults a lot, they can carry adult conversations a lot better. You'd have to lock your kids in a closet for them not to be social. They have their siblings too. But like Sarah also said, though, when they're younger, like I have, you know, 8 is my oldest. I'm not as concerned right now. But of course, obviously, as they grow, the church family and then co-ops are a great option. I would tell this person to just look up that state and see, you know, we're everywhere. Homeschoolers are everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can find your tribe, you know, and just, and also the biggest thing, like you also said, is pray about it, because God will make his will clear with that. And so, I mean, the socialization thing is always frustrating when we hear that, but.
Very good. Margaret, do you have anything to add to the socialization?
Mine are really involved in just traditional after school trail life, American Heritage Girls, very big in 4-H. And I will say, along the lines of you can tell a group of homeschoolers, one thing I've noticed is whatever activity they attend, nobody cares what grade you're in. Nobody cares what age you are. And it's neat to see kids across just a strata of ages playing together and having fun.
Yeah, very good. I also want to just say that we are launching Sonlight Connections in-person groups. So that should be live on sonlight.com/connections next week. But if you're interested, you can email me at srose@sonlight.com, and I can give you all the information on how to start a group or how to join a group. So not only that, we're really excited about that, offering that out there to mamas so they can join a Sonlight co-op or a Sonlight group. So yeah. Anyway, back to the questions. So we had a question on, is it normal to have frustrating days and how do you overcome them? Jackie.
Well, just yesterday when we finally got on our FaceTime or whatever this is, you know, I was telling her, Stephanie, that my 8-year-old was hysterically crying through school the whole time. And I was like, how am I going to encourage anybody? But the question was, what? Do you have bad days? Yes. I'm sorry. What was the question?
How do you overcome them?
Of course, you know, children, it's not easy being the primary teacher. It's no small task. And we live with them and we're always with them. So we frustrate each other and we're sinners, right? So all of us. So we definitely have difficult days and I overcome them usually, you know, obviously sometimes we stop and we try again in the afternoon. I think the biggest thing, he has something to say now. I think the biggest thing is just, you don't give up. These are your kids, and you have this on your heart for a reason, and just relying on the Lord. And sometimes when my husband comes home from work, I'm hysterically crying to him. And we pray, and then tomorrow's a new day. So it's no different than, like Sarah mentioned, kids who aren't social are going to be not social in school or homeschool. No different than, kids have bad days. They have hard days, and I want their bad days to be with me. I'd rather them be with me than with someone else. That's just my own personal conviction. I don't think I have it all figured out, but I'm glad it's a teaching opportunity, even in those moments of sin or frustration. I try to point them to Christ, and that's all I have on that. But yes, a million hard days, bad days, but then God gives you so many wonderful days. And you're like, right when I'm like, I'm done, and I'm yelling at them, telling them I'm going to drop them off at regular school. That's like the big threat. We're going to wear regular clothes tomorrow.
Get out there for the bus.
Yeah. Go chase it. But when I have those moments, then I have the most reassuring, days, mornings, or lessons. And God is so good to us and does that. So that's all I have.
Yeah, for sure. Sarah?
It's normal to have like one frustrating day a week at least, right? Yeah, for me, okay, it can be a lot of different reasons. It can be older kids with a bad attitude, or younger kids grumpy or mean, not getting enough sleep with newborns or pregnancy or whatever. And look at what it is. But for me, changing things up, like just like Jackie said, just quitting for the day. A lot of times with my Sonlight, I'll double up days when I'm sitting with my little kids, so that if I need a day, I don't feel like I'm getting behind, or maybe I did get behind. And when we're having a good day, it's easy to do a couple days at once worth of reading material. And so I kind of use that to just give myself grace, because some days it's just not working, and to keep hitting that wall it's not worth it. And so to be able to change things up, sometimes for me, if it's just me that's having a bad day, I can realize I have 9 children, so I can feel like my house is chaotic, and maybe I'll just stop. I'll give them all an assignment, even when I'm supposed to be like working with one of them. I'll just give them an assignment, and I'll go like clean up my kitchen and make it shine while they're doing their thing. And I've come back feeling a whole lot better. And everybody survived it. So just changing the routine and figuring out like what really is the problem here. And then thankfully every day we get to start fresh. And I don't often have 2 really frustrating days in a row. But another thing I did is years ago, I started doing 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And that helped me a lot too, because I used to have a lot of frustrating days in the spring. So now I don't have that problem.
Very good. Margaret, do you have any advice on overcoming frustrating?
Honestly, it's one of the reasons why with the littles I really love the 4-day scheduling options in the instructor guides, because that 5th day, I like to say we're doing great field trips, or we're doing these exciting crafts and discoveries, and really some weeks it's catch-up day, because we had a meltdown at some point earlier in the week. We just need that time.
Yeah.
Very good. I want to just say that my child threw Cheez-Its at my head yesterday during this pre-call. So things happen. It just happens.
Indeed.
Anyway, let's keep going. So how do you know when to start a young child in school? Do you have any advice on offering, she's been trying to decide how to tell if they're ready? And Margaret, why don't you take this one?
I would say definitely reach out to an advisor. We can definitely help you sort of walk through where your child is, and are they ready for table subjects? Do they really need to be sitting down and starting that fine motor work when really they want to be playing with Legos and listening to you read from the couch? And from my perspective, there's really no reason to rush.
Sarah?
I agree. I wouldn't rush. But when the kids are really ready, a lot of times I want to do school a lot. But the longer I do it, the less I want to rush them.
Yeah.
But do you remember back when you first started? Like, I think if I was myself 25 years ago with my first, I wanted to rush. We were ready. He was ready. And And now looking back on it, I think it's easier to see we could have waited.
Yeah. With my first, I started, well, my kid, when he was kindergarten age, like when he would start school, he really wanted to learn to read. So I kind of skipped to first grade stuff. And he did fine. And I realized, we skipped kindergarten. So basically just playing with him and talking about numbers and letters was enough for him to do really well in first grade. So that's when I kind of realized that just interacting and playing with them when they watch their older ones do school, that is really good preparation for them. And it doesn't have to be so formal. So I think my first experience kind of helped me learn how little they need that structure in the very beginning, you know?
Yeah. Let's see here. So we had a question about grading and how you keep proper grades and records. So I think that this really does fluctuate state by state. But Jackie, why don't you answer a little bit about how you do this for your state?
All the time on Raising Cubs on Instagram, I have moms that will be like, what do I have to do legally? And it's different in every state. My biggest suggestion would find out what the laws are and the minimums in your state, you know, with record keeping and grading. I know North Carolina requires state testing. So some states have nothing. So the biggest thing is you need to be legal. You need to, you know, you don't want them coming after you or your kids or whatever. So find out what your specific laws are. I know for me, I have to be part of a homeschool association. We pay, it's like $70 a year, and they're like our legal defense, and they keep all of our records. And when I say records, all it is at the end of the year, I say, I sign something online that says I homeschooled my kids 180 days. They don't care what days, what hours, where we were. We could be on vacation, we could be in Disney World, but that's really all I have to do. Now, when I first started, I was super strict with, you know, like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have I think the other thing is a report card, I want to say. But definitely just find out for your state what it is as far as that goes. But I don't know I know you guys said that yours are a little different, right?
Yeah. Sarah?
Yeah, ours is just we just have to tell the state what we're doing and what curriculums we're using, or if we're writing it ourselves, like we have to write it all out. But that's about it. We're supposed to keep some records in case they ever check up on us, but I've never heard of that happening. I'm in Nebraska, so.
Very good. Margaret.
Find out your state.
Yeah, where I am, we don't have to keep records. I kind of like each year to just sort of do a little portfolio or scrapbook of what the kids have done. So I might keep treasured drawings or little writings and maybe a math sample or a science lab write-up or something like that. Just more so down the road to look at and cry and say, how they get so big so fast.
Okay, so I have one more question that we haven't tackled yet. And then if you guys have any questions for these ladies, please comment, and we'll make sure to address them. What do you do if they're not interested in writing? How do you make that happen? Sarah.
Writing. You know, how I've made it happen before with kids of mine that are not interested is I let them write what sounds exciting to them. So we get a little more creative maybe, and that helps a lot when they're writing something that's interesting to them. I have a daughter who doesn't like writing her reports at all, but she's writing a whole book. So I try to also think about, okay, you know, she is writing too. So, and encourage her, look at, you're a writer. So, because sometimes it just feels to them like it's so overwhelming, I can't do it. And that's why I don't like it too. So I don't know.
That's really good advice. Jackie?
I have the 8-year-old and he does not like writing. And like Sarah said, sometimes it's boys stuff. He's writing about dirty, you know, toys outside or bugs. You don't have to necessarily have them write exactly what Sonlight has in that specific subject, or, you know, again, he's only 8 and then 6 and younger. So right now I just want to keep learning fun. and make sure that they're paying attention to it. So sometimes it's getting on their level with it and making it silly, or making a fart noise, you know, and then they start laughing and they're not so serious. And, you know, they'll get, as they grow and as they mature, they'll, you know, start to realize they have to do things they don't enjoy, and then that's the freedom of homeschool. And that's why I'm sure one of the reasons why we do it is, when they have something they like, photography, whatever it is, they can really go after that and study it and write reports on it. And so we'll have those opportunities. But personally, for me, I wouldn't push it too hard, because I also don't want them to hate writing or learning at a very young level. I'm saying, obviously, you know, 4th grade, 5th grade, it's a different story, but I'm still trying to make it fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very good. Margaret?
I would say, especially at that creative writing or creative expression point, if they break down, I am happy to offer to scribe for them. Or, you know, to me, the whole thrust of the assignment is just that they learn to brainstorm and come up with ideas and try to connect ideas. And if I have to put them down on paper for them, that's great. Or some days we've done, hey, let's video you acting out your creative expression story instead of writing it down, or talking a pirate voice, or just change it up just to make it a little bit more fun rather than just the drudgery of writing.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining. And little Luke, thanks for joining us as well. Thank you so much. Sarah, our Tribe of Many, Jackie, Raising Cubs, and Margaret, Sonlight Advisor. I appreciate you guys so much, and I appreciate everything that you've shared with us today. I'm sure our moms will as well, so thank you for doing that. If you are listening or watching the replay, let us know if you have any additional questions. We'll be monitoring this, so we can certainly have our advisors reach out to you and answer your questions as well. So thank you all for joining us, and until next time. Yes, thank you.
Bye. Bye.